Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So we got some big news this morning. I woke up, put on YouTube, and the first video that came on my feed was all about Trump being infected by the coronavirus. And this is very significant for a variety of reasons. You know, a lot of people anticipated there might be some black swan event which threw things for a loop this fall, and this could be that thing. If this proves more than just an asymptomatic infection, and it actually turns into a confluence of the symptoms that is COVID-19 and it becomes a critical illness for President Trump, then that's going to lead to some serious instability, both on the economic front and on the social unrest front. So this could work in one of two ways. I mean, he could overcome it and that could help his campaign, or of course, he could succumb to an illness and it could potentially be a serious one, and that of course would certainly damage his campaign. Now, if Trump is compromised prior to the election, of course, Mike Pence would take up the reins. He would be the successor. And if Mike Pence was compromised, then it would be Nancy Pelosi. She's next in line. I'm not sure who's next in line after that, probably one of the secretaries of state or something like that. Then they would have to select a new person to run for the next 4 years. And of course, there'd be a lot of litigation surrounding that, and it'd be messy with the whole electoral college thing. And if Biden gets it, you know, I mean, he shared a stage with Trump, so there's a good possibility, if we know that it's airborne in some respects, more than droplet airborne. So there's a good possibility that Biden was exposed as well. Would it be enough of a viral load that he actually contracted it? It's unknown. But, you know, so this could go one of two ways. Trump could pull through this and it could actually embolden him and his campaign, or it could potentially go south, you know. Now, I had a video planned today that was my kind of analysis of the debates and my prognosticating for the civil unrest that might transpire around election time, but I'm not going to release that video probably ever now, because I think this wild card has totally changed the situation, and that video is no longer relevant, or at least a good chunk of it, because if this situation progresses, you know, this is going to have huge repercussions for the election, and I think the potential for economic fallout as a result of this is going to be massive. If this actually turns into a fully fledged illness, which it could, you know, in spite of the fact that the president is probably going to receive the top-notch treatment that is available, you know, it could, their age is not on their side. You know, when you're over the age of 70, I believe there's a much higher case fatality rate than if you were, you know, beneath that age. And both Biden and Trump are, you know, around that 75 mark. So it's not looking too good in that regard. But again, this could just be an asymptomatic infection. It could even be a false positive for all we know. I'm sure they're going to have to do more testing in the coming days. So probably a good idea not to jump the gun on anything. But I think this should be a trigger for a lot of people to expedite your preparedness efforts right now, because this very well could trigger a lot of economic stability in the coming weeks. This could be the initiator of the second market crash. And I do not know what's going to happen, you know, on the ground with the civil unrest and stuff if he's not able to run for another 4 years, what that's going to look like. I mean, prior to this happening, I did anticipate that there was going to be pockets of unrest, you know, potentially escalating into very localized conflicts as a result of some of the things that transpired in the political debates. I believe that there was definitely some provocation there on both sides, and there's a potential for civil unrest to escalate, probably not to the point of civil war like a lot of people are saying, but it would definitely be an asymmetrical, fourth dimensional, you know, guerrilla style warfare situation, which could potentially get set off by a variety of incidents, which could come around on election day at the voting booths. You know, all it's going to take is one or two incidents for things to get pretty serious. And if the election is highly contested, one of my biggest concerns at this point, now more than ever before, is that the United States is more vulnerable now, I think, than it's been in recent history to foreign meddling. So I think that the foreign powers are going to seize on this opportunity to get whatever dirty work they want to get done, while the United States is largely incapacitated and dealing with its own issues. And I think if you have a contested election and the country is in disarray and the economy is tanking, that could potentially be when you start seeing some countries around the world making moves, whether that be China into Taiwan or Russia into Belarus, or whatever proxy conflicts are going on around the world. Those things could potentially get flared up as a result of this. So we are living in tumultuous times, and I think the demeanor of the candidates at the election, whether it was the belligerence of Trump in his usual aggressive, argumentative style, or how cantankerous Biden was towards Trump and calling him a clown and telling him to shut up. I think all those things reflect the fact that we are teetering on the brink of, I don't want to say civil war, because it's not going to be a civil war in the conventional sense. There's just too many variables. There's too many groups. There's classes. There's a racial component. There's an identitarian component. There's an ideological component, a religious component. So there's all these overlapping, intersecting factors which could make for just a messy situation. And you can bet your bottom dollar that if there is some unrest around that time, that foreign powers are going to capitalize on that. And that would be my biggest concern right now, is what are other countries going to do? Now, in terms of why I talk about the United States, look, Canada, biggest trading partner to the United States. We are the two most similar countries on the planet with the most similar interests, I think, geopolitically, militarily, economically, as any other countries on the planet. We share the same culture, the same language, even the same types of money. I can put my quarters in your pop machine. So this is why I talk about American politics, because it's about as significant to Canada as it is to any individual state. We have bilateral trade deals that amount to over $1 trillion in trade. And if that was ever compromised, obviously, our economies would be heavily compromised, and our strategic interests are your strategic interests. So that's why we talk about it here on this channel so much. And it's, quite frankly, just a lot more entertaining. Now, on the topic of the debates, I will just say that no matter what happens in the debates, even if maybe they're going to do it remotely now because Trump's going to be in quarantine, but no matter what the outcome of the debates, we all know that there's not a whole lot of people that are undecided. I think it's something like 14%. So most people are quite steadfast in their ways for this election, and I don't think they're going to be easily swayed in either direction. So what we've seen in the past, in 2016 in particular, is that, even though Hillary appeared to be ahead in a lot of the polls and even maybe, winning some of the debates, obviously we know how that turned out. So I don't think the debates are a good barometer for what's actually going to transpire on election day. So I wouldn't put too much stock in terms of who wins the debate. The debates are really just exhibitionist grandstanding for the most part. It's a way for candidates to demonstrate that they can go toe-to-toe and that they can handle the pressure of arguing with their opponent. So I think that's really all that that's about. But we really need to be on the top of our prep game at this point, because this could potentially be that event that triggers the second market crash. I'm not saying it's going to, like I said, Trump could overcome this and it could be a very mild asymptomatic case. Nothing's going to happen. In fact, it's going to improve his chances, or, it could potentially take a turn for the worse. He could get critically sick. Biden could get sick. And, then we're going to have ourselves a Pence versus Kamala situation, possibly. That's something which could potentially transpire. It's difficult to know exactly what's going to happen, but clearly this is going to make a messy situation even messier. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think some of the biggest implications are from Trump testing positive for the virus. Is this going to change your preparedness strategy at all? And moving forward, you know, what are you focusing on, I guess, from here on in the next few weeks? Because, guys, it could get pretty crazy. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Canadian Prepper out.